All right, beautiful people. All right, beautiful people. Thanks. This is going. Let's do this little buffering thing on YouTube. Okay, sweet. We live now. Happy Sunday, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Hold on. All right, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. It is April the 17th, 2022. Day number 84. I have to check. 84 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count. Day 1102. 1102. Today we are picking up where we left off in the OAHSPE on page 8. And then we're going to pick up where we left off at in meditation on page 46. All right, y'all. Trina, hey, girl, hey. Hey, girl, hey. Lavon, blessings. Auntie, Belinda Brown, Grand Risings. Shayla, Betwabu. Grand Rising. All right, let's get it started. Father, thank you for another day. Help us understand all the raw data we are taking in and may it convert to wisdom for every day of our life. All right, y'all. On page, it should be 5. Okay, I'm sorry. We went to page 5. We're starting on page 6. Sorry, I fixed my typo. Okay. Page 6 begins the book of Jehovah. Jen, good morning. Good morning. All right. So at the beginning of this chapter, there's remember how the other one started, had like this ancient text, but it looks like paleo with the pictures and stuff. It's not paleo. It's not cuneiform. I don't know exactly what. Oh, I'm sorry. Panic. Well, yeah, hold up their words. Be thou. Yeah, they said this before. The panic or earth language. But anyway, it's pictures. Alicia, yeah. Hey, girl. Hey. Okay, so let me show you this if you don't have it. This right here. All right. For Facebook to see. All right. YouTube. All right. You should be able to see that. Okay. It says, Book of Jehovah, wherein is revealed the 3 great worlds, corporal, atmosphere, and ethera, As in all other Bibles, it is revealed that this world was created. So in this Bible, it is revealed how the Creator created it. As other Bibles have proclaimed heavens for the spirits of the dead, behold, this Bible revealeth where these heavens are, and the manner and the glory and work that the spirit of the dead enjoy, whereby the wisdom, power, and love and glory of the Almighty are magnified for the understanding of man. Hold on. Maybe I did. We did start this. What was I thinking? Because we paused. I was like, wait a minute. I read this already. Hold on. I was right. I was thinking that we split the books up evenly and we was just starting this over. Get it together, Pamela. Hold on. I was right. Well, it don't hurt to read it again anyway. Let's just refresh it. But before I start reading, hold on. All right. Okay. Go back and unfix my fixing. Hold on. Okay. We actually started on page 7 in chapter 3. Okay. That's what I get for taking half notes the other day. Okay. Now let me read the little blurb under it since I read the top again. Okay. Apology. The universe is full. All things are members. Speech they have, bid them speak. The recorder of their words be thou. Such is panic or earth language, the first language. What saith the bird, the beast, the stars, the sun, all? It is their souls speaking. The soul hear thou and repeat it. This light leadeth thee to origin. Okay. Chapter 3, Robert Shalom Betwabu. Okay. Thus spake Jehovah, by the light of Cosmon, proclaimed he these things among the nations of the earth. Man looked upward in prayer, desiring to know the manner of all things created, both on earth and in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created worlds. As thou beholdest the power of the whirlwind, gathering up the dust of the earth and driving it together, know that even so do I bring together the Agi and the Ga and nebula in the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind create I the corporeal suns and moons and stars. And I commanded man to name the whirlwinds in the Etherian firmament, and he named them vortices, and warp according to their shape, named he them. And then it has reference 8 after name, and the 8 is called. By the power of rotation, swift driving forth in the extreme parts, condense I the atmospheric worlds that float in the firmament, and these become my corporeal worlds. In the midst of the vortices made I them, and by the power of the vortices I turned them on their axes and carried them in the orbits I allotted them. Hold on, I need a sip of water. Okay. Wider than to the moons of a planet have I created the vortices, and they carry the moons also. And so notice how it says, up a little bit back in verse 3, when he said, these are plural. Know that even so do I bring together the Agi and Ga and nebula in the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind create I the corporal suns, and suns has a moon. Suns has a S, moons has a S, and stars has a S. All right? Okay. Just want to bring that part out, just in case you weren't paying attention to that. Okay. Drop back down. Wider than to the moons of a planet have I created the vortices, and they carry the moons also. Around about some of my corporeal worlds have I given nebulous belts and rings, that man might comprehend the rotation of my vortexian worlds. For each and every corporeal world created I a vortex first, and by its rotation, and by the places in the firmament whither it travelleth, causeth I the vortex to conceive the corporeal world. Here, that would be called, it's the, I might have this right. Maybe Earth's, well, at least here on Earth is like Earth's magnetic force, I want to say. That's what we term it here. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on it. But they have the little bit that I do remember in science, it talks about the different types of forces that the planets have, right? Yeah, I ain't even gonna get all scientific like I know all the details, but that's what I think reading that. That's what I think. Audrey, shalom, shalom. All right, I'm gonna have to look that up though. It's gonna probably explain it here. Okay. For each and every corporeal world created I a vortex first, and by its rotation and by the places in the firmament whither it travelleth, causeth I the vortex to conceive the corporeal world. A great vortex created I for the sun, and within this vortex and subject to it made I the vortices of many of the corporeal worlds. The sun vortex I caused to rotate, and I gave it power to carry other vortices within it. According to their destiny and positions, they are thus carried forth and around about the sun. Think not, O man, that I created the sky a barren waste and void of use. Even as man in the corporal form is adapted to the corporal earth, so is he in the spiritual form adapted to my Etherian worlds. 3 great estates have I bestowed on man, the corporal, the atmospherian, and the Etherian. And it has the letter C. I still haven't found out what the alphabet little notations are. And I didn't go look either. I completely did not do anything yesterday. Okay, y'all. Chapter 4. Man perceiveth the general foundation, and it has 9 foundation, or the reference 9 says formation in the footnote. Man perceiveth the general foundation of the world, and he prayed that his eyes might be opened for a sign in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, the clouds in the air I bring into view suddenly. By the different currents of wind make I thus the unseen visible and tangible to man's senses. In like manner do I cause Etherian currents to bring forth G and GA and nebula prior to making the corporeal worlds. In all the universe have I made the unseen to rule over the seen. Let the formation of the clouds stand in the view of man on earth, that he may bear witness to the manner of the unseen becoming seen. Man perceiveth, and he prayed for a sign of duration. And Jehovah answered him, saying, behold the tree which hath sprung up out of the ground and fulfilled its time. It falleth and rotteneth, and returneth to the earth. But lo, the wind which thou seest not never ceaseth to blow. Even so is the comparative duration of all things. Think not, O man, that corporeal things are annihilated because they disappear. For as a drop of water evaporateth and riseth in the air as unseen vapor, so do all corporeal things, even earth, and stones, and gold, and silver, and lead, become as nothing in the firmament of heaven in course of time. Things that man seeth, created I with a beginning and an end, but the unseen I made of endless duration. The corporal man made I belonging to the seen, but the spiritual man made I as one within the unseen and everlasting. As the corporal man beholdeth corporal things, so doth the spiritual man follow upward the evaporated corporal entities of things. As corporal things are tangible to corporeans, so are things tangible to the spirits of the dead. Remember, S is the spiritual realm, ES. As I cause water to rise upward as a vapor and take a place in the air above, let it be a sign and a testimony of other places in atmosphere whereon dwell the spirits of the lower heaven. As I made a limit to the ascent of the clouds, so I made a limit to the planes of the different kinds of substances in atmosphere, the more subtle and potent to the extreme, and the more dense and impotent to near the earth. According to the condition of these different plateaus in atmosphere, whether they be near the earth or high above, so shall the spirit of man take its different place in the first heaven. Listen to this. Listen. According to the condition, we've been talking about this, right? Hold on. I didn't even pre-read this. According to the condition of these different plateaus in the atmosphere, whether they be near the earth or high above, so shall the spirit of man take its place in the first heaven, according to his diet and desires and behavior. So shall he dwell in spirit on the plateau to which he adapted himself during his earth life. Right? Remember how we were talking about when you begin to eat different, when you eat a plant-based diet, even not only your physical body get lighter, but your spirit gets lighter and it can lift higher. Remember I was talking about this? We've just been recently talking about this, right? This is getting good. I'm going to read it again. According to the condition of these different plateaus in atmosphere, whether they be near the earth or high above, so shall the spirit of man take its place in the first heaven, according to his diet and the desires and behavior. So shall he dwell in spirit on the plateau to which he hath adapted himself during his earth life. For I made the power of attraction manifest in all things before man's eyes, that he might not err, or ERR, or be in error, right? That he might not err, that like should attract like, I made them. Man sought to know the progress of things. Jehovah answered him, saying, Open thine eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of Genesis, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporal worlds I have created. As first as a vapor, the vortex carry it forth, and as it condenseth, its friction engendereth heat, and it is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in heaven. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. In the next age, I bring it into Semu, SE''MU, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. Next, it entereth Hotu, HO''TU, for it is past the age of begetting, even as the living who are in dotage, DOTAGE. Next, it entereth Adu, A''DU, and nothing can generate upon it. Then cometh Uz, UZ, and it is spirited away into the unseen realms. Thus created I, and thus dissipate planets, suns, moons, and stars. My examples are before all men. My witnesses are without number. I raise the tree up out of the ground. I give it a time to bring forth fruit, and then barrenness, and then death and dissolution. I prepare the new field with rich soil, bringing forth, and the old field that is exhausted, and man shall weigh the progress and destiny of the whole world. Let no man marvel because of the size of the mammoth and the Ichthyosaurus. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm almost sure, except for the saurus part. ICHTHYOSAURUS. Okay. Let no man marvel because of the size of the mammoth and the Ichthyosaurus, For there was a time for them, and there is a time for the infusoria of this day. Infusoria is INFUSORIA. I have given thee a sign, O man, and the queen of the honeybee, because of the change of the cell cometh she forth a queen, even from the same manner of germ as the other bees. Be wise, therefore, and remember that the earth is not in the place of the firmament as of old. Let this be a testimony to thee of the growth, the change, and the travail of the earth. Nevertheless, O man, the seen and the unseen are but parts of my person. I am the unity of the whole. Ooh, that's good. Okay, chapter 5. We still in the book of Jehovah. Man perceiveth the magnitude and glory of the corporal worlds. He said, how shall I speak of thy great works, O Jehovah, and of thy wisdom and power? Shall I open my mouth before thee? I look upon thy countless stars, suns, and moons spread out over the heavens. Millions of years thou hast driven, or the footnote number 10 says rolled. Thou hast driven or rolled them on into the never-ending firmament, processions in the out and round about of mighty worlds, by thy breath going forth. O thou, all highest, how shall I hide my insignificance? I cannot create the smallest thing alive, nay, change the color of the hair on my head. What am I that thou hast seen me? Tell me, O my Creator, whence came life? This unseen within me that is conscious, this unseen, hold on, let me start over. Tell me, O my Creator, whence came life? This unseen within me that is conscious of being. Tell me how all the living came into life. Jehovah heard the words of man, and he answered him, saying, let a sign be given to man that he may comprehend Semu, S-E''MU. Thereupon Jehovah caused the jellyfish and the green scum of water to be permanently coming forth in all ages, that man might understand the age of Semu, when the earth and the shores by the water, and the waters also were covered over with commingled atmosphere and corporeal substance. Hold on. Oh, here it is. I gotta write down these phases of life he labeled out. Going back to Semu. Okay. Jehovah heard the words of man, and he answered him, saying, let a sign be given to man that he may comprehend Semu. Thereupon Jehovah caused the jellyfish and the green scum of water to be permanently coming forth in all ages, that man might understand the age of Semu, when the earth and the shores by the water, and the waters also were covered over with commingled atmosphere and corporeal substance. And this substance was called Semu, because by Jehovah's presence quickened he it into life, and thus made he all the living, both the vegetable and animal worlds. Not that Semu is jellyfish or the green scum of the water, for the earth and this day produceth not Semu abundantly. Nevertheless, the jellyfish and the green scum of the water are signs of that which was in the day of the earth. Jehovah said, because of my presence quickeneth I into life all that live or ever have lived. Let me read it again. Jehovah said, because of my presence quickened I into life all that live or ever have lived, because I am male and female, even in my likeness, thus made I them, because I am the power to quickeneth into life, so in likeness of me, thus I made them, and with power to bring forth. According to their respective places, created I the living, not in pairs only, but in hundreds of pairs, and thousands and millions, according to their respective places, and the light upon Simu, so quickened I them in their color, adapted to their dwelling places. Each and every living thing created I knew upon the earth, of a kind each to itself, and not one living thing created I out of another. Let a sign be upon the earth, that man in his darkness may not believe that one animal changeth and becoming another. Let me read again. Let a sign be upon the earth, that man in his darkness may not believe that one animal changeth and becometh another. Thereupon Jehovah gave permission for different animals to bring forth a new living animal, which should be unlike either its mother or father, but he causeth the new product to be barren. Jehovah said, and this shall be testimony before all men, that I created each and all the living after their own kind only. Bruh, hold on. Okay. Let me not get it mixed up. Okay, clearly we know humans do not come from monkeys, right? We all get that. This is kind of what that's saying. And if something is like spliced with something not of its own kind, it becomes barren. Kind of like when you know how man be trying to experiment splicing stuff, but the thing that they splice cannot reproduce because it's not of its own kind. This is kind of what that's talking about. It was another example, the horse and the mule and the donkey, right? They're called the henny and a henny and a mule, and I forget the pairing of it, where you get a mule or you get a henny. It's like a male horse with a female donkey, and you get a mule. And if you do a female donkey with a male donkey with a female horse, you get a henny. Anyway, you got to look that up. I always get that all mixed up. I'm gonna read this again. This is what I thought about when I read this. Okay. Each and every living thing created I upon the earth, of a kind each to itself, and not one living thing created I out of another. Let a sign be upon the earth, that man in his darkness may not believe that one animal changeth and becometh another. And clearly we know that no animal is going to change into the human species, right? Because human species are of its own kind. Francis, shalom, brother. Okay. Let a sign be upon the earth, that man in his darkness may not believe that one animal changeth and becometh another. Thereupon Jehovah gave permission for different animals to bring forth a new living animal, which should be unlike either its mother or father, but he causeth the new product to be barren, or not able to reproduce, right? You're sterile. That's what happened with the mixture of when you get the product, the mule and the henny. Okay. Such is my person and my spirit, being from everlasting to everlasting. And when I bring a new world into the time of Simu, lo and behold, my presence quickeneth the substance into life according to the locality and the surroundings. So do I bring forth the different species, for they are flesh of my flesh and spirit of my spirit. To themselves give I themselves. Nevertheless, they are all members of my person, right? Everything that we see in nature comes out of Yah. We just look a little different. He gave us the ability to talk and reason and literally have domination over all the other things that came out of him, like the plant kingdom and animal kingdom. But nevertheless, we aren't to treat them like, this might sound a little, like they're less than we are. Because really, technically, they're not. But in our own human reasoning, we think we're better than the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom. Yah doesn't necessarily see it that way. Okay, I'm going to read this again. Such is my person and my spirit, being from everlasting to everlasting. And when I bring a new world into time of Simu, lo, and behold, my presence quickeneth the substance into life, according to the locality and the surroundings. So do I bring forth the different species, for they are flesh of my flesh, and spirit of my spirit. To themselves I give themselves. Nevertheless, they are all members of my person. As a testimony to man, behold, the earth was once a globe in liquid fire, nor was there any seed thereon. But in due season I rained down Simu on earth, and by virtue of my presence quickeneth I into life all the living. Without seed I created the life that is in them. Next chapter, chapter 6. When man comprehended the earth, he looked upward, and Jehovah saw him and knew the desires of his soul. So Jehovah sent his son Uz, and Uz spake, saying, Hear me, O man, the mysteries of heaven and earth will I clear up before thy judgment. Thou art the highest, and comest to the chiefest of all kingdoms. From great Jehovah shalt thou learn wisdom, and none shall gainsay thee. Bethink thee, O man, of the magnitude of thy father's kingdom and his places in the firmament. Save I take thee into the heavens above. And it has footnote number 11, and it says, Save I take thee up to the heavens above. Thou canst not comprehend the places thereof. Man then rose up in spirit and ascended into the firmament, for his spirit had crystallized into separateness, and Uz and Es ascended with him, speaking in the voice of the Father. And man beheld that each and everything in the firmament was orderly, and still each to itself located. Then spake Es, saying, Behold, O man, as a farmer soweth corn in one place, and wheat in another, and roots in another, and flax, everything in a separate place, even so doth Jehovah store the ingredients of which worlds are made, everything in its place. The substance of the iron in one place, the substance of the stones in another, the substance of the vegetable kingdom in another, and even so the substance of the animal kingdom, and the oils and sands. And he hath places in the firmament of heaven for all of them. These that thou sawest are the Aji, and the Ga, and the nebula. And amidst them in places there is Simu also. Let no man say, Yonder is hydrogen only, and yonder oxygen only. The divisions of the substances of his creations are not as man would make them. All the elements are to be found not only in places near at hand, but also in distant places also. When the Father driveth forth his worlds in the heavens, they gather a sufficiency of all things. So also cometh it to pass that when a corporal world is yet new and young, it is carried forth, not by random, but purposely in the regions suited to it. Hence there is a time for Simu, a time for a falling nebula, to bury deep the forest and Simuan beds, to provide coal and manure for a time thereafter. So is there a time when the earth passes a region in the firmament, when sand and oil are rained upon it and covered up, and gas is bound and sealed up for the coming generations of men. Y'all, hold on. Let me read that again. When the Father driveth forth his worlds in the heavens, they gather a sufficiency of all things. So also cometh it to pass that when a corporal world is yet new and young, it is carried forth not by random, but purposely in the regions suited to it. Hence there is a time for Simu, a time for falling nebula, to bury deep the forest and the Simuan beds, to provide coal and manure for a time thereafter. So is there a time when the earth passes a region in the firmament, when sand and oil are rained upon it and covered up, and gas is bound and sealed up for the coming generations of men. So when I was reading this the first time, it's like I saw this quick little flash, right? Okay, so we've probably seen that. I'm sure we've seen this on movies. You know how they show the earth in creation time, right? Okay. The one that first comes to my mind is the movie Lucy, right? Remember all the way at the end of the movie Lucy, after she had dissipated into thin air, it actually shows time going in reverse, right? Where the cities are full and teeming with people, all the electronics and stuff. Then it shows you time backwards all the way to the dinosaur era. And in each phase, Lucy was there like sitting in the chair watching time go in reverse. And then when there was dinosaurs, and then it was like land, I don't remember for the cave people. Anyway, you saw the cavemen and women, all these different things, all the way back then the dinosaurs, then just barren land, untouched by human species or anything, and then all the way back before the land was nothing, and then like the comets and all this stuff. That's what this is explaining. It explains that it's like that fast scene I saw just real quick. I'm like, oh snap. So, okay, now we're at the time where we're reaping the harvest and the benefits from the earth. But as the earth was created, so I've sensed for a very long time, don't necessarily believe when we read in Genesis, not that I don't believe it, but I think our understanding of time is not like the time that it really was, where it says the earth was created in 6 days and then on the seventh day y'all rested. I don't think those days are days like we see days, like the last time y'all saw me here live was the day before yesterday because it was the Sabbath. I don't think it's like the 24-hour days. I think those days represent periods of time, especially if we understand the process of growth and how Yahuwah sees growth. Think about us. We're not born and then walking the next day, right? We're human, and it takes years for us to grow. Just like it would take a earth. If we look at how the earth is producing stuff now, common sense would tell us that that wasn't 7 days back to back like our week, like we look at time. How do we know that to be certain and not get all super stupid religious? Because look at the plant kingdom now and how it grows. You don't plant a seed in the ground and then tomorrow you don't plant an acorn seed in the ground, tomorrow you got an acorn tree. How long does it take for that acorn to burst under the pressure, grow roots, and then begin to pop up, let alone how tall it gets, and then begin bearing fruit? The world was not created in 7 days or 6 days and a rest day like we perceive time now. Time is an illusion. We ain't gonna get into all that, but time is an illusion. And when we read, especially the Bible, the Torah, whatever you want to label it today, when you read those scriptures, because of our misconception of time, we screw a lot of stuff up, right? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. But I'm going to just read this paragraph again. We'll be at. Maybe I'm going to read to the end of it's Sunday. I know we had 37 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, let's read to the end of this because we got one more chapter. No, 2. Let's see. We're going to finish reading this Book of Jehovah today. Hold on. When the Father driveth forth his worlds in the heavens, they gather a sufficiency of all things. So also cometh it to pass that when a corporeal world is yet new and young, it is carried forth, not by random, but purposely into the regions suited for it. Hence there is a time for Simu, a time for falling nebula, to bury deep in the forest and the Samoan beds, to provide coal and manure for a time thereafter. Look, now we're digging up the coal now that was planted while the earth was being created, right? All the gold and all those things as is developing over time. We now begin to go back into the earth and harvest those things that it took to create the earth, i.e., which is why all the cutting down of the trees and stuff, and they talk about the global warming and stuff, and you got the whole tree huggers groups, organizations, and people like stop killing nature. Now I can kind of see and understand a little bit better what they're saying, even if they don't quite understand it themselves, right? Because truly, if you just look at the process of what happens when you do cut down trees and stuff, just how the atmosphere, it gets better for us and our selfish purposes, but it actually gets worse. If that makes sense. Okay. All right. So is there a time when the earth passes a region in the firmament, when sand and oil are rained upon it and covered up, and gas is bound and sealed up for the coming generations of men. And man said, I am ashamed in thy light, O Jehovah. I looked upward and said, behold the sky, it is nothing. Then I said, it is true. The corporeal worlds are made of condensed nebula, but I saw not the wisdom and glory of thy works. I locked thee up in coincidences and happenings. I locked thee up in coincidences and happenings. Thy unseen world hath become seen, the unreal hath become the real. Oh, that I had been mindful of thee. Oh, that I had not put thee afar, nor imagined laws and decrees. Teach thou me, O Jehovah, how was the beginning of man? How was it with the first of the living that thou broughtest forth? Jehovah said, have I not declared myself in the past? In my works have I not provided thousands of years in advance? As I have shown system in the corporal worlds, thou know, O man, that system prevaileth in the firmament. To the tree I gave life, to man I gave life and spirit also, and the spirit I made was separate from the corporal life. Out of Semu I made man, and man was but as a tree, but dwelling in Hak, H-A', but dwelling in Hak, and I called him Asu, Adam. I looked over the wide heavens that I had made, and I saw countless millions of spirits of the dead that had lived and died on other corporal worlds before the earth was made. I spake in the firmament, and my voice reached to the uttermost places, and there came in answer to the sounds of my voice myriads of angels from the roadway in heaven where the earth traveled. I said to them, behold, a new world have I created. Come ye and enjoy it. Yea, ye shall learn from it how it was with the other worlds in ages past. There alighted upon the new earth millions of angels from heaven, but many of them had never fulfilled a corporal life, having died in infancy, and these angels comprehended not procreation nor corporal life. Talk about school. And I said, go and deliver Ansu from darkness. And Ansu is Adam. And I said, go and deliver Ansu, or Adam, from darkness, for he shall also rise in spirit to inherit my ethereal worlds. And now was the earth in the latter days of Semu, and the angels could readily take on corporal bodies for themselves out of the elements of the earth, clothed they themselves by force of their wills with flesh and bones. By the side of the Asuans, they took on corporeal forms. And Asuans is like those who come from Adam. Asu, A-S-U, Asu is Adam. So Asuans are the humans, the Adams walking around. By the side of the Asuans, took they on corporal forms. And I said, go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. I read that again. And I said, go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. Right? So the tree of life, or the tree of, no. I was about to say, no, I'm getting it mixed up. It's the tree of life. I was thinking the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so when the Suans ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they lost their light forms and became denser flesh and began to lose time off their life. Yeah, you're right, Tiffany. I just saw your comment. Even the Bible said a day is as 1,000 years. Yeah, absolutely right. A day is not like a day like today. But in some of the stories, now don't get them mixed up. In some of the stories, like with the different stories that you find in there, when they're talking about a day, that I believe that is referring to like it's a different time, like the time we automatically think of as days and nights, but there's a different type of time in the beginning from what's being explained how the world was created. You're right, Stephanie. Thank you. Okay. And I said, go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. Okay, so y'all know like y'all know the movies. It's a few movies. You know how you got The Watchers, or it's one movie with Nicolas Cage. I think it's Nicolas Cage. And it's one just like it. I know like the movie Legion, but I don't think it's Legion I'm talking about. One with Nicolas Cage. He played in a couple different ones. But anyway, one with Nicolas Cage, I believe, and I think I forget the other guy's name. But anyway, they're like the fallen angels. And when they come down and when they have like sex with women, or eating of the tree of life, engaging into like sexual intercourse, how the movie goes. And now I'm tending to believe now that actually the tree of life, all of this stuff, I'm really believing that is of a sexual nature. When they intermingle, when the spirit realm intermingles with the human women, the flesh and blood, the two separate species, they literally lock themselves out of the spiritual realm, so to speak, or they become heavier, they become more dense, and they're not able to go back to where they came, so to speak. Like it changes them. Okay. We ain't gonna get into all the details in that, but y'all get what I'm saying. Okay. And I said, go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. But those who had never learned corporeal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words, and they dwelt with the Asuans, or Adam, or the humans, and were tempted and partook of the fruit of the tree of life. And lo, and behold, they saw their own nakedness. And it has reference E, but I don't know where those are located just yet. If anybody found out where the letters are located and what they mean, please help us, sister out. Right? Okay. But those who had never learned corporeal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words, and they dwelt with the Asuans, and were tempted, and partook of the tree of life, and partook of the fruit of the tree of life. And lo, and behold, they saw their own nakedness, and there was born of the first race, Asu, a new race called man. And Jehovah took the earth out of the travail of Simu, and the angels gave up their corporal bodies. And Jehovah said, because ye have raised up those that shall be joint heirs in heaven, ye shall tread upon the earth with your feet, and walk by the sides of the newborn, being guardian angels over them, for they are of your own flesh and kin. Think about the book of Enoch, right? Remember when they was crying out to Yah, like all of these things. Listen. Jehovah said, because ye have raised up those that shall be joint heirs in heaven, ye shall tread upon the earth with your feet, and walk by the sides of the newborn, being guardian angels over them, for for they are of your own flesh and kin. Fruit of your seed have I quickened with my spirit, and man shall come forth with a birthright to my Ethereal worlds. I got a ticket, bruh. As I have quickened the seed of the firstborn, so would I quicken all the seed to the end of the earth. And each and every man, child, and woman child born into life will I quicken with a new spirit, which shall proceed out of me at the time of conception. Neither will I give to any spirit of the higher or lower heaven power to enter a womb or a fetus of a womb and be born again. Ooh, let me read that again. Hold on. As I have quickened the seed of the firstborn, so will I quicken all seed to the end of the earth. And each and every man child and woman child born into life will I quicken with a new spirit, which shall proceed out of me at the time of conception. Neither will I give to hold on. Make sure okay. Neither will I give to any spirit of the higher or lower heaven power to enter a womb or a fetus of a womb and be born again. As the corporal earth passeth away, so shall pass away the first race and sue. But as I pass not away, so shall not pass away the spirit of man. All right, chapter 7. They got Roman numerals. I got to look back at the last one. Okay. Jehovah said, let a sign be given to the inhabitants of the earth, that they may comprehend Danha, Dan apostrophe Ha, in the firmament of heaven. For even as I bequeath to earth a time for creating the living, and a time for angels to come and partake of the first fruits of mortality and immortality, so shall man at certain times and seasons, reference 12 says seasons, 2. So shall man at certain times and seasons receive testimony from my host in heaven. And Jehovah caused the earth and the family of the sun to travel in an orbit, the circuit of which requireth of them 4,700,000 years. Let me go back and read that again. And Jehovah caused the earth and the family of the sun to travel in an orbit, the circuit of which requireth of them 4,700,000 years. And it has a little reference F. And he placed in the line of the orbit at distances of 3,000 years Ethereal lights, which places as the earth passes through, angels from the second heaven come into its corporeal presence. As ambassadors they come in companies of hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands, and these are called the Ethereal hosts of the Most High. Not as single individuals come they, not for a single individual mortal come they. And Jehovah gave this sign to man on the earth, which is to say, in the beginning of the light of Danha, the spirits of the newly dead shall have power to take upon themselves the semblance of corporal bodies and appear and talk face to face with mortals. Every 3,000 years gave Jehovah this sign on earth, that those who learned the powers and capacities of such familiar spirits might bear testimony in regard to the origin of man on earth. I'm gonna have to go back to that. Some of my dreams about familiar spirits. Hold on, I gotta come back. Okay. Jehovah said, and when it shall come to pass in any of the times of Daha that these signs are manifest, man shall know that the host of the Most High comes soon after. Read it again. Jehovah said, and when it shall come to pass in any of the times of Danha that these signs are manifest, man shall know that the host of the Most High comes soon after. Let him who will become wise enumerate the great lights of my serpent, for In such times I set aside things that are old and establish my chosen anew. In the time of the earth, when man was brought forth from mortal to immortal life, the earth passed beyond Simu, and the angels of heaven remained with corporeal man, but not in the semblance of mortals, but as spirits, and by virtue of their presence strove to make man wise and upright before Jehovah. Upon the earth the number of such angels was millions. To these angels spake Jehovah, saying, Behold, the work ye have taken in hand, it was commanded to you all to partake of all the fruits of the earth, save of the fruit of the tree of life, which is of the knowledge of the heaven and earth, lest ye lose your inheritance in the Ethera. So it seems like the Bible breaks this book up into two. But if we read it carefully, at least it's what I'm thinking now that I'm looking at this. Okay, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? To me, I mean, I could be wrong. I'm still trying to pull my thoughts together here on everything. Okay, listen. Behold, the work ye have taken in hand, it was commanded to you all to partake of the fruits of the earth, save of the fruit of the tree of life, which is of the knowledge of the earth and heaven, lest ye lose your inheritance in the Ethera. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but I'm almost thinking S is on page 813 index. Thank you for that, Francis. I'm gonna look that up. That's what I'm thinking. The tree of knowledge of good and evil is, don't quote me. I'm thinking about all the things I've learned about it, and even down the spine and the tree of life and eating of. Okay, I need to look at that a little bit more. I'm almost thinking, based on some of the side roads I had to go off into to understand certain things, I'm almost thinking. What am I saying? Keep calling. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on one second, y'all. That was like his fourth time calling. Okay. And I didn't have a way to answer it without cutting it off. Okay. Hold on. Let me go back up. Verse 6. Okay. Behold, the work ye have taken in hand, it was commanded to you all to partake of all the fruits of the earth, save of the fruit of the tree of life, which is of the knowledge of the earth and heaven, lest ye lose your inheritance in the Ethera. Behold, ye now have sons and daughters on the earth. By your love to them are ye become bound spirits to the lower heaven, until ye redeem them in wisdom and power, even to the 6th generation. Ye shall not again arise and inherit my emancipated heavens, to which end ye shall be co-workers with one another in system and order. In my name shall ye become an organic body, and known as the heaven of the earth, or lower heaven, which shall travel with the earth. And I will allot unto you a chief, who is wise and experienced in founding heavenly kingdoms, and he shall appoint from amongst you officers and messengers and Ashars and Asaphs and Essinars, and ye shall be numbered and apportioned unto your labor and places like unto my lower heavens on other worlds. And he who is chief shall be called God of this heaven, and he who is chief shall be called God of this heaven and earth. Unto his making bestow I them. We'll come back to my comment a little bit later. We're just going to keep on reading. And God shall have a council and throne within his heavenly city, and the place shall be called Horeb, because it is the first kingdom of God in this firmament. And God shall rule on his throne, for it is his, and his council shall rule with him. In my name shall they have dominion over angels and mortals belonging to the earth. And God shall appoint chiefs under him, who shall go down and dwell on the earth with mortals, and such chiefs' labor shall be with mortals for their resurrection. And these chiefs shall be called lords, for they are gods of land, which is the lowest rank of my commissioned gods. And God and his lords shall have dominion from 200 years to 1,000 or more years, but never more than 3,000 years, according to the regions of Dan, light into which I bring the earth. So shall be the terms of the office of my gods and my lords. Pause for a second. Let me have a comment that I was thinking about. So remember how when we read in the Lost Book of Enki, where we were first introduced to it together live here, right? When we read through there, remember how it started bringing in the different Gemini, the astrology. That's what I was thinking. The astrology symbols, right? And it was talking about how each one is ruled by a different Anunnaki god or whatever. And you have the time of rulership, like the ruling time of Marduk and the time of Enlil. But each, when it changes, like the age of Aquarius, right, that would change the god who is ruling the earth at that time. That's how it broke it out using the Anunnaki names. But this is literally saying the same thing. They will rule for 2,000 to 3,000 years, and then the age will change, right? And we kind of hear that. Yeah, God is like the president on earth. Thank you, Francis. Setting up a heavenly government. God is like the president on earth. But the God, according to what I'm understanding now, like I said, I could be wrong, but this is how all of these, the Sumerian text, the Egyptian text, all this stuff, merging all these pieces together now, they're pieces of the same puzzle. It's giving you a different vantage point, a different light from all of these. And it's almost like, well, not almost like, we have worked backwards, right? It's like we started from our point, the Bible. Then we backtrack after we got really familiar with the Bible, reading it over and over and over again for the last 3 years together. Then we backtrack. Let's look at the complete Anunnaki Bible. Then we see, oh, some of the stuff from the Bible, all of it has stemmed from this. And after we finish that one, we track back a little bit more. So it's like the Bible, like our time, not saying this is it, but just like an example using those. Like the Bible's like our current time. You gotta get what I'm saying. The Bible, like the humans, giving like the human story. Then the book of the Anunnaki is giving the story of the gods who are in charge of the earth, or the angels. And this is giving the OAHSPE is given the story that's higher than the gods, right? So while we're at war, or this God, you worshiping him, there literally is multiple gods or angels that have different rules and dominion. Just like Francis said, it's a government, right? We got familiar with government even in the Bible, talking about the kingdoms, Israel, all those things. We got familiar with all those pieces of the puzzle. This is beautiful. Okay. Finish this. We almost done. Yeah, we got like a page and a half with this big book. I'm going to keep on reading this, y'all. Hold on. Okay, verse 14, page 11. No, let me go back. I'll go back to verse 11. No, I'll go back to 10. And he who is chief shall be called God of this heaven and earth. Unto his making bestow I them. And God shall have a council and throne within his heavenly city, and the place shall be called Horeb, because it is the first kingdom of God in this firmament. And God shall rule on his throne, for it is his, and his council shall rule with him. In my name shall they have dominion over angels and mortals belonging to the earth. And God shall appoint chiefs under him, who shall go down and dwell on the earth with mortals, and such chiefs' labor shall be with mortals for their resurrection. And these chiefs shall be called lords, for they are gods of land, which is the lowest rank of my commissioned gods. And God and his lords shall have dominion from 200 years to And God and his lords shall have dominion from 200 years to 1,000 or more years, but never more than 3,000 years, according to the regions of Dan, or light into which I bring the earth. so shall be the terms of the office of my gods and my lords. And God and his lords shall raise up officers to be their successors. By him and them shall they be appointed and crowned in my name. At the termination of the dominion of my God and his lords, they shall gather together in these my bound heavens all such angels as have been prepared in wisdom and strength for resurrection to my Ethereal kingdoms. And these angels shall be called brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah, for they are mine and in my service. It's interesting how a lot of little pieces of this we also see spread about in the Bible, especially like in Revelation and in the book of the prophets, right? Just an observation. And God said to his lords with the brides and bridegrooms, I will send down from Etheria ships in the time of Dan, and my Etherian gods and goddesses shall the ships descend. Wait a minute. Read it again. And to God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms will I send down from Etheria ships in the time of Dan. By my Etherian gods and goddesses shall the ships descend to these heavens and receive God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms and carry them up to the exalted regions that I have prepared for them. Clearly, the Bible has taken some of this. Like they're taking pieces of the story, giving it to us half-cocked. And it's all screwed up. You got people waiting for ships coming to get them. No, G. Those are just for the ones who raised the... They ain't coming for all of y'all. All right. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get off. I'm already over time. Look, okay. Let me read it again, though. At the termination of the dominion, meaning when they're that current ruling God and his officers, angels or whatever, when their time of ruling is up, whether it's 200 years or they got the max of the 3,000-year reign, at the end, they're coming to get them so the new ones can take their rule, their place in the new kingdom. And thus the names and stuff began to change all over again to suit the new ruling gods and goddesses. This is okay. All of these stories are kind of making sense now that we've gone through a lot of the stories. And now we're reading this. It's kind of like bringing all these scattered pieces together a little bit more for me at least. Okay. At the termination of the dominion of my God and his lords, they shall gather together in these my bound heavens, all such angels as have been prepared in wisdom and strength for resurrection to my Ethereal kingdoms. And these angels shall be called brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah, for they are mine and in my service. And to God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms will I send down from Etheria ships in the time of Dan. By my Etherian gods and goddesses shall the ships descend to these heavens and receive God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms and carry them up to the exalted regions I have prepared for them. And all such as ascend shall be called a harvest unto me through my God and lords. And the time of my harvest shall be according to each Dan, which is 200 years, 400 years, 600 years, and 500 years. And these shall be called my lesser cycles, because they are the times of the tables of prophecy which I give unto my servants. Ooh, that's good. That's good. Y'all saw y'all little conversation over here, Francis and Kimber. So a new ruler is coming? Yes, a new ruler is coming. The ages or the dispensations are changing, right? If you look at the occultic world or the new age world, they call it, listen, it's already changed. Right? They call it, and we're familiar with it here, they call it the age, the age of Aquarius, right? We've passed into the age of Aquarius, i.e. the waking up of a lot of people in mass, right, at what's going on. And this particular ruler is bringing understanding of things that have been covered up, hidden, misaligned. This age is to set everything back in its proper place. That's what this current ruling goddess is there. That's why all of us were waking up, coming out of the lies of Christianity and all the different religions. That's what I get so far. Before I even got here, I knew that something had changed, right? But I was still on the course of finding out exactly what has changed or what are we doing, So, but yes, the ruling nobility has changed already. Okay. All right. Let me go back. Ships. Okay. And all such as a sin shall be called a harvest unto me through my gods and lords. And each of my harvests shall be according to each Dan, which is 200 years, 400 years, 600 years, and 500 years. And these shall be called my lesser cycles, because they are the times of the tables of prophecy, which I give unto my servants. But at no other times, nor in any other way, shall my harvest ascend to my emancipated worlds in Etheria. 7 Dan, let me read that again. But at no other times, nor in any other way, shall my harvest ascend to my emancipated worlds in Etheria. So the harvest, or those who are coming out of that particular cycle, who are called the harvest, coming out, they can only ascend at certain times. He said, no other time are my harvest to come to my, or ascend to my emancipated worlds in Etheria. 7 Dans have I created for each and every Dan Ha, and 6 generations of mortals have I given unto each Dan. And it has a little reference G. The angels understood the commandments of Jehovah according to their knowledge in the Etherian heavens, being heirs of other planets, and having died in infancy, and having matured in the S worlds, but they understood not the Creator according to the practice of the lower heavenly kingdoms, wherefore their knowledge was incomplete. Clearly we know those are the ones that Enoch are talking to, that when Enoch was talking to the Creator, he said, tell them they knew enough to get themselves in trouble, right? Makes sense. Let's bring all these pieces together. Wherefore their knowledge was incomplete. Jehovah said, I condemn ye not, because ye have become joint procreators with the Asuans, for ye have done 2 services unto me, which are to teach yourselves corporeal things, that ye may understand and sympathize with corporeans, and secondly, because ye have caused the earth to become peopled with such as are capable of immortality. So he said, you remember how we was joking around? We was like, Lord, they down here creating people and you ain't said nothing. They down here just, oh no, let's try it again. And they just letting off all these different creations, trying to create Anunnaki or offspring that look just like them with as much intelligence and strength so they can mine the earth for gold. You mean to tell me you ain't said nothing to them? You just letting them go on and do this, right? So they are really, remember that whole conversation we had when we was back there? Okay, listen. Jehovah said, I condemn ye not, because ye become joint procreators with the Asuans, or the humans, right? The ones that look like Adam. For ye have done 2 services unto me, which are to teach yourself corporeal things, right? You're taught yourself by doing this. You're teaching yourself, you're helping me out. Okay, go ahead, learn, children, learn, right? For ye have done 2 services unto me, which are to teach yourselves corporeal things, that ye may understand and sympathize with corporeans. And secondly, because ye have caused the earth to become peopled with such as are capable of immortality. Behold ye now what shall happen on the earth. Such as are of your flesh and kin, who cohabit together, shall rise in wisdom and virtue. But such of them as cohabit with the Asuans will bring forth heirs in descending grade of life. The first shall bring forth heirs unto everlasting life, but the second shall bring forth heirs that go out in darkness. And clearly we see that. The children of light and the children of darkness. He ain't never told no lies. We experiencing this now. The war that's between Russia and Ukraine is a war of heavenly and they harvesting soul. I don't doubt it one bit. Not one bit. Everything is making a little bit more sense than it did to me a few days ago, or even last year. Like how I thought I understood things last year, I'm like it's completely different today, right? Although I didn't chuck everything, but a lot of things have been adjusted. Okay. The first shall bring forth heirs unto everlasting life, but the second shall bring forth heirs that shall go out in darkness. In the dominion of matters which your God and Lords will instruct you, that ye may, by inspiration and otherwise, learn to control the behavior of mortals unto everlasting life. And that these labors be not too severe upon you, I created the Dans and the Dan-Has in the firmament, wherein ye may be relieved from the watch by other angels from other worlds coming to exchange with you. So Dans and Dan-Has are just the different phases of time. Like we understand time, whether it be 200 years, 400 years, 2,000, 3,000 years, right? So people who are in the military probably understand that a little bit better with standing a watch, how we get people to come relieve us at the end of our watch. You have 2-hour watches, you have 4-hour watches, you have 6-hour watches, you have 24-hour watches, which are then called duty days, right? Where you're on watch 24 hours, right? Come relieve you.
Come relieve me.
And so, it's...
You gonna relieve me?
I got you. I'm gonna relieve you in a few.
Something that you need to relieve.
Okay, so, but it's easy for me to understand those particular things when it starts talking about government because of the time of my...
Don't y'all need to be relieved?
Of my previous
Wouldn't y'all like to be relieved?
In the military, right? We almost done,
you
y'all.
You don't need to be in the military to be relieved either. So
look, you're throwing me off with what I'm saying. Hold on.
You're relieved.
Okay. All right.
I'm about to be relieved. I'm telling you. I'm serious, though. You know
all right, y'all. Babe.
24-hour duty. But, all right, go ahead.
Okay.
24-hour duty, though.
I can bring my thoughts back together.
Relieve.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Relieve yourself.
Behold ye now, behold ye now what shall happen on the earth, such as are of your flesh and kin who cohabit together shall rise in wisdom and virtue, but such of them as cohabit with the Asuans or the humans will bring forth heirs in the descending grade of life. The first shall bring forth heirs unto everlasting life, but the second shall bring forth heirs that go out in darkness. In the dominion of which matters your God and Lords will instruct you, that ye may, by inspiration and otherwise, learn to control the behavior of mortals unto everlasting life. And that these labors are not too severe upon you, I created the Dans and the Dan-Has in the firmament, wherein ye may be relieved from the watch by other angels from other worlds coming to exchange with you. This also do I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue by your own wills, governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. Let me read that again. This also do I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue by your own wills, governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. For what honor hath any man if made to do a thing? Okay, so he's saying, if you begin to rule over men out of your own selfish desires and your own selfish needs, that is against my commands. That's exactly what that was just saying. I'm going to read it one more time. This also do I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue by your own wills, governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. For what honor hath any man if made to do a thing? Right? So if you're being made to do something, it ain't really helping you. Although you're doing what the person ruling you want to do, but it doesn't benefit you because you're being made to do it under duress. or else, right? But it's not full-heartedly, so you gain nothing from that, right? You're punished for ruling that way, and the person you're ruling doesn't benefit. They don't grow because they're being made to do it out of duress and not out of a whole, clear, full, pure heart of, I choose to do this service to you, right? Okay. I'll read it one more time, then we'll keep on going. This also do I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue by your own wills, governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. For what honor hath any man if made to do a thing? But ye shall give mortals of my light, leaving them to choose. Better it is for them to suffer some than to grow up in ignorance of the stings of disobedience. Behold, I make this a willing service on your part, because ye have bound your afflictions on the earth to your own kin. Ye willingly become guardian angels over mortals. Yet I made not a separate law unto you, as it is with you. So shall it be with the spirits of these mortals when they are born into the S world. They will also desire to become guardian angels over their mortal kin. But these spirits, never having known my higher heavens, will be unsuitable for the office of Ashars. They would be but the blind leading the blind, to prevent which God and the Lord shall provide these spirits in the first resurrection with places to dwell in and with occupations and opportunities for education. Right?
Read that again.
Yeah, this is telling you it's a school.
Read it again.
I am.
So you can understand it.
Right. So not only are we in school here on the earth, but when we leave here, we continue school. We don't go into the spiritual world being perfect like some teachers teach us, like you become perfect in spirit. No, you're still unlearned in a lot of areas, which is why you're still learning once you depart from here, right? Listen, but these spirits, never having known my higher heavens, will be unsuitable for the office of Ashars, or those who could be guardian angels, helping those walk through this life, getting all the information we supposed to be learning, right?
But then do people think about angels is do they understand about angels?
No, not while they're currently under wrong teaching. They don't even realize that they are spirits themselves.
It's true.
But these spirits, having never known my higher heavens, will be unsuitable for the office of Ashars, or guardian angels. They would be but the blind leading the blind, to prevent which God and the Lord shall provide these spirits in the first resurrection with places to dwell in and with occupations and opportunities for education. For I desire them.
Talk about resurrections. I mean, some people don't understand first, second, third resurrection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going through it. Yeah, it's going through. To prevent which God and the Lord shall provide these spirits in the first resurrection with places to dwell in and with occupations and opportunities for education. For I desire them not to remain bound to the earth, but to rise up and to inherit my Ethereal kingdoms. And in this also shall ye be discreet in governing them, giving them the light of my heavens with some liberty to choose and to perfect themselves. Otherwise, they would only be slaves in heaven. According to their weakness or strength, so shall ye provide for these new spirits. So shall ye provide for these new spirits entering my S world. Therefore, such of you as are appointed by my God and my lords as guardians over mortals shall be called Ashars, and ye shall report to your respective lords according to the section of the earth where ye may be. Of many watchers shall be Of many watches shall be the Ashars. And such of you as are appointed to receive the spirits of the dead into heaven shall be called Asaphs, and you shall report to your respective lords and their kingdoms. And the Ashars shall make a record of every mortal of the grade of his wisdom and good works. And when a mortal dieth, and his spirit is delivered to the Asaphs, the record shall be delivered with him, and the Asaph receiving shall deliver such spirit with the record into such place in these heavens as is adapted to his grade, where he shall be put to labor and to school according to the place of the resurrections which I created. So when you leave here, depending on how smart or how unsmart you are, will determine where you're gonna go in your next grade, right? You ain't gonna bluff out the spiritual realm on where you need to go, right? So if you need to repeat kindergarten, you're gonna repeat kindergarten, right? Not a lot of people repeat kindergarten, but some people actually do. It's still unknown to me how you can fail a child in kindergarten, right? So same thing in the spiritual realm, depending on how well you have been developed, will determine what level you go to next, y'all. Everything is school for us. The earth is a school for the spirits, right? And we all got put in different classes, depending on the body, the color you got put in, or the religion, all that stuff that was determined where you needed to start to grow, where you needed to grow at. All right, develop your spirit. As ye thus shall become organic in heaven, with rulers and teachers and physicians, and with capitals and cities and provinces, and with hospitals and nurseries and schools and factories, even so shall ye ultimately inspire man on earth to the same things, as above, so below. Right? Y'all mentioned that a few times already today. And the mortals that are raised up to dominion over mortals shall be called kings and emperors. As my gods and my lords are called my sons, so shall kings and emperors be called sons of God. Through him shall they be raised up to their places and given dominion unto my glory. And so you got this last little portion left of this book, and it is chapter 8. And we'll be done. We ain't going to get to the meditation today, but we'll pick that back up tomorrow. So S means ethereal atmosphere. Okay, yeah, it keeps saying it. It uses it interchangeably, but thank you for that. I didn't pick that up. Thank you, S. Right. Okay, thank you.
S.
S-E-S.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jehovah said, and God shall cause a record to be kept in heaven of his dominion and his lords, and he and they shall enjoin it upon their successors forever to keep a like record. And in the times of my harvest, a copy of these records shall be taken up to my Ethereal kingdoms and filed with my Orion chiefs and archangels in the roadway of the travel of the great serpent. And then it has the reference H.
Hey, sir.
After great serpent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me read it again. And in the times of my harvest, a copy of these records shall be taken up to my Ethereal kingdoms and filed with my Orion chiefs and archangels in the roadway of the travel of the great serpent for their deliberations as to the progress and management of the inhabitants of the earth and her heavens. Think not, O ye angels, that the resurrection of your heirs and their descendants that come up out of the earth is an easy matter and of steady progress, devoid of mishaps and woeful darkness. The angels under you shall become at times rebellious and defiant, disregarding your laws and decrees, and they shall desert your heavenly places and go down to the earth in millions and hundreds of millions, and they shall drive away the Ashars and then assume guardianship over the mortals. Right? Kind of like, think about if you got a house full of kids, right? Think about they get all unruly, doing their own thing. They don't want to follow your rules, and you got to kick them out. Like all this stuff. Everything as above, so below. Just like we dealing with our own children foolishness, they dealing with the foolishness of the ones that ain't keeping their rightful place and doing business the way it need to be done daily, right? To help everybody grow together. It's foolishness and shenanigans everywhere. As above, so below. Shenanigans above, shenanigans below. That's going to be the title for the day. Shenanigans above, shenanigans below. I hope nobody's offended by that title for the day. Okay, listen. Think not, O ye angels, that the resurrection of your heirs and their descendants that come up out of the earth is an easy matter and of steady progress, devoid of mishaps and woeful darkness. The angels under you shall become at times rebellious and defiant, disregarding your laws and decrees, and they shall desert your heavenly places and go down to the earth in millions and hundreds of millions, and they shall drive away the Ashars, and then assume guardianship over mortals. But they shall develop no righteousness under the sun, but they will inspire mortals to war and destruction. For instance, what you mentioned about Russia and Ukraine, right? And all of that. Listen. But they shall develop no righteousness under the sun, but they will inspire mortals to war and destruction. And these angels will themselves take to war and evil on every hand within the place of your heavens. With the foul gases of atmosphere shall they make weapons of war and places of torment. With these elements shall they make suffocating hells in order to cast one another into chaos.
Wait. How long are you going to be done?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do that real quick. You're breaking up the ice in the ice bag. Okay. With the foul gases of atmosphere shall they make weapons of war and places of torment. With these elements shall they make suffocating hells in order to cast one another in chaos. And mortals who shall be slain in war shall be born in spirit in chaos on the battlefields. In chaos shall such spirits enter the S world. And they shall not know that they are dead as to earth life, but shall still keep fighting right and left. If y'all have read any of that trilogy by Robert Monroe, that is exactly quite a few of the, when you get to the second book of the trilogy, when he talks about how when he was taken out of body, how he would see when different people would die. And he saw different people who were in the military, when they die on a battlefield, that when they die, they wake up. Well, they don't wake up, but they rise out of their bodies and they're still trying to fight. They don't even realize that they are dead. They see their body, but they're still trying to fight. But the ones who have died, they're just taking their spiritual weapons and piercing right through them, causing no harm. It takes a while for it to click that they have passed away. He tells about those different examples. Like I said, if y'all ain't read or listen to that trilogy, it's on Audible. Get some time.
That we had watched that they was using military bodies. After they died, they was using them. And when they came back, he didn't get it right at first.
Yeah.
So when they came back, it was like they were still fighting.
Yeah.
In that lab, well, in that place, they were still fighting in that place.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They couldn't until he perfected it, but he did perfect it after they did something to him.
Yeah, I forget. Now I'm be looking for it too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But you get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. Once I get it, I'm gonna share it with y'all. Okay. Trina said they all moved in there in Hampton. Robert said stop by when y'all on this side sometime. Okay. We gotta pay y'all this. Okay.
Why y'all later on?
Okay, let me finish reading this, y'all. Okay. We almost done. Oh, there we go. Okay. And mortals who shall be slain in war shall be born in spirit in chaos on the battlefields. In chaos shall such spirits enter the S world, and they shall not know that they are dead as to earth life, but shall keep fighting right and left. And the enemy shall take enemy in these heavens and cast them in the places of torment which they have built, and they shall not know peace nor wisdom. And the work of your heavens shall become as nothing, and ye shall turn to going about delivering hells and the spirits in chaos, and your labor shall be exhaustive. Verily, you shall cry out because ye came and peopled the earth. This also have I created possible unto my creations, for both angels and mortals shall learn to know the elements of the heavens and the earth, and to know the trials of love and misfortune. Nor have I made wisdom possible unto any man or angel that knoweth not my elements and the extremes of evil and good which I created. But in the times of great darkness, which shall come upon the earth and these heavens, lo, I will bring the earth into Dan Ha, and my Etherians shall come in my name and deliver them. And again, for another cycle shall they be left with the lessons given unto them, and they shall fall again in course of time. But again will I deliver them through my gods and goddesses, will I cause them to comprehend the magnitude of my creation. And it has footnote number 13, and it says my creations. It says it's just given a plural of creation. My creations. As ye travel from heaven to heaven in atmospherian ships, or from heaven to, it has reference 14, and it says from heaven to heaven in this atmosphere, even so shall ye inspire mortals to build corporal ships and sail across the oceans, that the inhabitants of different divisions of the earth may become known to one another. And when the inhabitation of the earth shall be completed, and the nations shall have established civil communion around from the east to west, in that same time will I bring the earth into the cosmic era, and my angel ambassadors, gods and goddesses, shall render up the records of these heavenly kingdoms. Through them will I reveal unto mortals the creation of my words, and the history and dominion of my gods and lords on the earth. Even, hold on. Ooh, I was about to cough or sneeze or something. Hold on. Ooh, okay. Through them I will reveal unto mortals the creation of my worlds, and the history and the dominion of my gods and lords on the earth, even from this day down to the time of Cosmin. And Jehovah caused the angels of atmosphere to assemble together and organize the first kingdom of the heaven on the earth. And the place was called Horeb, because it was the place of the first organic abiding place for the first God of this world. And Horeb was situated over and above the mountains of Aotan and Ugakwi. What? Aotan is spelled Aotan. Above the mountains of Aotan and Ugakwi. Ugakwi is Ughoqi. To the eastward of Ul, of that country hereinafter called the continent of Pan. Thus endeth the inorganic habitation of the earth and her atmosphere. End of the book of Jehovah. And I found out where the letters are. They're at the end of the chapter. Okay, so this, if I would have looked ahead, I would have been able to read these while we were going. So let's just go through them, A through H. Okay, so the A reference says, see Book of Safa, chapter Mahak, verse 21. Also see Book of Ben for signs and symbols. The student will find that becoming familiar with both books, Ben and Safa, will enable him the better to understand the terms and the historical part of this work. Had I had the arrangement of the books in my own way, I would have placed these books of the latter part antecedent to the history. 1882 edition. Letter B, see plate Aji Jae, inconsistency at end of glossary. See plate 18, Ethera, page 461, 1882 edition. Letter D, for example, wait, listen to this. And I gave that example, not knowing that was... Okay, let me read it, because y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay, letter D says, for example, a mule is the barren offspring of a horse and a donkey. These passages clearly indicate that the definitive mechanism behind the anatomical progression evident in the evolutionary tree was intelligent design. Whether or not natural selection or mutation contributed anything to that process, Nevertheless, that fact does not preclude the act of creation from being instrumental in this process as well. That's the 1882 lowest edition. We were talking about, boom, page 9, right? Page 9, letter D, when it said, thereupon Jehovah gave permission for different animals to bring forth a new living animal, which should be unlike either its mother or father, but he caused the new product to be barren, right? So when you splice different creations, they're not able to reproduce, right? And that lets you know, wrong way, try again. Okay, letter E. These references are metaphorical. Partook of the fruit of tree of life. Bruh! I done learned a little bit. Listen. Look. Hold on. Let me find it. E. Yo, this is amazing. Hold on. Let me find E, y'all. Hold on. Talking about the tree of life, y'all. Remember how I was saying that it was a sexual act? Based on all that I've learned up until this point, the tree of, when they came, the angels came and had sex with the human women. Hold on. They so small. Hold on. Let me read it again for y'all. Oh, man. Oh, there we go. Okay. Verse 18 is on page 10. Yo, Kimball, look. Current rulers are destroying as much as they can before the end of their reign. People, land, air. Don't get me started. Listen. Okay. Listen. Page 10, verse 18 of chapter 6. Yes, babe.
Dad call you.
I hear him talking on the phone. I'll be up there in a second.
Dad just called you.
He didn't. I hear him talking on the phone. I'll be up there in a second, too. 1 second. Babe! You coming?
Let's dance. Come on, we gotta go to the warehouse. Yeah, let's go to the warehouse. We gotta go to the warehouse.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Let me hurry up. Okay, but let me read this. Look. Siri. End. Thank you. Okay, listen. Hold on. I'm about to end this. Let me just read this. Yes, you can come go get dressed. Okay. But those who have never learned corporal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words, and they dwelt with the Asuans or humans, and were tempted, and partook of the fruit of the tree of life, and behold, they saw their own nakedness. After nakedness was letter E, right? And letter E says, these references are metaphorical. Partook of the fruit of the tree of life means they were drawn into the sexual act and does not refer to a literal tree. They saw their own nakedness means they lost their childlike innocence because means they lost their childlike innocence because they had never previously experienced corporeal life.
No, what you just... Don't read that last part. Read up again.
Are you talking about the sexual act and tree of life? He come down on them parts, y'all.
I didn't come down on your last part that you had talked about. Go ahead.
Okay, let me read it. Okay, you give me a little bit more time. Read it again. Listen. Okay, this is what you're talking about. Okay. These references are metaphorical. Partook of the fruit of the tree of life means they were drawn into the sexual act and does not refer to a literal tree. So when you read at the beginning in Genesis chapter 6, when the sons
go back. No, you gotta. You know how you do. You gotta read.
Oh no,
you can't read just.
Okay,
that. You gotta read.
Here's where I read. I went back over here.
Okay,
I read this and then I read that. Okay. All right. Back on page 10, y'all, verse 17 in chapter 6. And I said, go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. But those who had never learned corporal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words, and they dwelt with the Asuans or the humans, and were tempted and partook of the fruit of the tree of life, And lo and behold, they saw their own nakedness, and there was born of the first race a Su, a new race called man. And Jehovah took the earth out of travail of Simu, and the angels gave up their corporal bodies. And over here, for that reference E, it says these references are metaphorical for them saying that they ate of the tree of life. You know, they should have, the proper translation is they didn't had sex, right? Okay. These references are metaphorical. Partook of the fruit of the tree of life means they were drawn to the sexual act and does not refer to a literal tree. They saw their own nakedness means they lost their childlike innocence because they had never previously experienced corporal life. That was it. He's gone. He's gone again. Okay. All right. Reference G. The second half of this sentence, 6 generations of mortals have I given to each Dan, could lead to erroneous conclusions. That statement needed to include the following facts. Since the span of a generation is determined by the overall length of a given Dan Ha, that helps me so much. Oh my gosh. For years, I've been trying to figure out what a generation was. Right? Okay. That's good. That is really good. Listen.
What's good is...
Okay. Since the span of a generation is determined by the overall length of a given Dan Ha, right? So a Dan would be like a month, and a Dan Ha would be a year. So depending on how long your year is will determine how long your Dan is. Since the span of a generation is determined by the overall length of a given Dan Ha, the number of generations in a given sub-cycle Dan would be dependent on both the length of that Dan as well as the span of a generation for that Dan Ha. For example, a 3,000-year Dan Ha would be indicative of a 30-year generation. Referring to the example above, a 200-year Dan would encompass 6 generations only if a generation was 33 years for a 3,300-year Dan Ha. Obviously, there are numerous possible permutations to this generation Dan relationship. And the last reference is letter H. The words great serpent means solar phalanx or solar system. Phalanx, Phalanx, P-H-A-L-A-N-X. 1882 edition. Okay, beautiful people. That's almost 2 hours. And my laptop is about to die. And we got to go now. All right. So with that being said, I really hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. I know we didn't get through the book of meditation, but I figure, you know what? They got, what is today? Sunrise, Sunday, resurrection. Although I don't mention them anymore, this might be a good day. Because people, they still transitioning from the tales into the truth. They might need like some extra time, you know, so I guess it just kind of worked out, right? Although we're not celebrating Easter and all that stuff, still, if you needed a little bit more for today, we gave it to you, right? But now we gotta go, or we gotta go to the warehouse. All right, beautiful people, I hope y'all enjoyed it, but we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Oh shoot, let me mark my page right. Because sometimes when the cyber